Welcome to Domain 1, Section 1.3, AI Standards, Frameworks and Regulations. In this session, we will sort out three things that are easy to confuse: the voluntary standards and frameworks that guide good practice, the way a broad governance framework like COBIT maps onto the AI lifecycle, and the binding laws and regulations that carry real penalties. We will also look at how to stay compliant and where today's rules still leave dangerous gaps. Why does this matter beyond the exam? Standards and laws are the rulebook your AI program is judged against, so knowing them helps you choose a credible framework instead of inventing one from scratch. It lets you spot early whether a planned AI use might breach a regulation and trigger heavy fines. And it helps you advise your organization on which markets and rules apply, especially if it operates across borders. Let's start with standards and frameworks. These are structured sets of guidance that help organizations with governance, compliance, and day-to-day operations. AI-specific ones are still fairly new, shaped by a mix of academic research and industry input, and they are usually published by standard-setting bodies backed by governments or industries. The key thing to remember is that most of these are voluntary. You adopt them to prove you are following recognized good practice. Here are some of the headline examples. The standard known as ISO IEC 23053 describes a generic AI system that uses machine learning. ISO IEC 42001 is a voluntary management system standard focused on ethical use, transparency, and accountability, and it spells out how to establish, run, and keep improving an AI management system. And IEEE 7000 gives developers a process for addressing ethical concerns like privacy and fairness, while a system is still being designed. A few more are worth knowing. The OECD AI principles are recommendations adopted across many countries, built around transparency, inclusiveness, sustainability, and accountability. The NIST AI Risk Management Framework from the United States National Institute of Standards and Technology helps organizations identify, assess, and reduce AI risk. And Singapore's Model AI Governance Framework helps organizations deploy AI responsibly. Beyond these, the international standards community has a whole growing family covering AI terminology, trustworthiness, and bias, so there is rarely a need to start from a blank page. Now let's bring in COBIT, a broad and well-established framework for the governance and management of information and technology. Its main goal is to align technology with business objectives, manage risk, and make the best use of resources with a strong emphasis on accountability. The neat thing is that COBIT can be stretched to cover AI by weaving its principles through every stage of the AI lifecycle, from design all the way to retirement. Let's walk that lifecycle. In the design phase, the evaluate, direct, and monitor domain helps leaders judge AI's potential impact, point resources in the right direction, and track performance against strategy. In the development phase, the align, plan, and organize domain helps define management structures and set policies for data governance, security, and compliance, while planning for resources and tackling bias and vulnerabilities. The life cycle continues. In deployment, the build, acquire, and implement domain governs how an AI system is integrated, tested, and validated. And it handles change management so new tools do not disrupt existing systems. Once the system is live, the deliver, service, and support domain covers daily operations, service levels, and protection against cyber threats. And in the monitoring phase, the monitor, evaluate, and assess domain drives continuous checking against performance, compliance, and risk goals so models can be refined as regulations evolve. A second useful tool is the 4 Pillars framework from the Cloud Security Alliance. The first pillar is the model card, which gives a transparent overview of a machine learning model, including its objectives, training data, capabilities, limitations, and performance. The second pillar is the data sheet, which describes the data set used to train the model, including how it was created, what it contains, its intended use, and any biases or ethical concerns. The framework completes with two more pillars. Risk cards systematically identify and analyze the risks tied to a model, noting the issues seen during development or deployment and the fixes planned. Scenario planning then imagines situations where the model could be misused or could malfunction, surfacing unforeseen risks and shaping mitigation strategies. Picture a continuous loop. Model cards and datasheets describe the model, risk cards feed scenario planning exercises, and the results flow back into risk management, so the whole cycle keeps learning. Now we move from voluntary guidance to binding rules, laws, and regulations. These give governments and their agencies the power to oversee AI. They are relatively new and largely untested in court, and many are still in draft form at the national or regional level. The important consequence is that breaking them can bring fines or other penalties, both for organizations that build AI and for those that simply use it. These laws differ a lot from place to place, but some patterns repeat. Many use a risk-based approach, sorting AI into tiers and applying stricter rules to higher risk uses. The European Union's AI Act is the flagship example, with 4 tiers from prohibited to minimal risk, transparency duties for things like chatbots and deepfakes, and penalties that can reach tens of millions of euros or a large slice of global revenue. Similar laws are emerging elsewhere, from Brazil and South Korea to several United States states such as Colorado, California, and Texas. Alongside proposed federal rules, each with its own scope, penalties, and effective dates. When it comes to staying compliant, especially with systems built on large language models, the biggest risk lives in the information people feed in. There are 4 considerations to keep front of mind. The first is confidentiality, because users can accidentally expose trade secrets or intellectual property. The second is privacy, which means protecting personal data by design and running a privacy impact assessment before an AI solution goes live. The third is intellectual property, because the copyright status of AI-generated content is still being debated, and using copyrighted material to train models can create legal exposure. And the fourth is employee rights, ensuring that AI used in hiring or staffing stays fair, non-discriminatory, and within labour law. Even as rules multiply, real gaps remain. Because countries do not coordinate well, the rules often conflict or fail to line up, which makes life hard for organisations operating across borders and pushes up compliance costs. There are gaps by sector too. Healthcare has moved quickly on AI governance because patient safety and privacy are so critical, while finance and education lag behind on fairness, transparency, and bias. But the most damaging gap is often inside the organisation itself, where no one clearly owns AI governance, so AI drifts out of step with the company's wider strategy and policies. Let's bring it all together. Standards and frameworks like ISO, IEC 42001, IEEE 7000, the OECD principles, and the NIST framework offer voluntary, recognised good practice. COBIT stretches a proven governance model across the whole AI lifecycle through its 5 domains. Laws such as the European Union's AI Act are binding, risk-based, and carry steep penalties. Compliance hinges on confidentiality, privacy, intellectual property, and employee rights. And the biggest risks come from gaps across borders, across sectors, and inside the organisation where ownership is unclear. You now have a clear map of the rulebook. Every important topic and idea from this session is covered in the multiple choice questions on RooCloud.com. Before you move on to the next session, work through the chapter-wise questions there, because recalling these frameworks under exam-style pressure is what makes them stick. Practice first, and then move forward with confidence. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.